So the idea is that you're going to take what you did before on chapter 8 and make it interactive and using ActionScript 3.0. So here's an example to start with. Let me start with this one right here. So you have your portfolio that you set up. You have your rollover button that you created with a movie clip or something. But this time when I click on samples, it goes to the samples page. And then when I click on slideshow, it loads the slideshow. So this is basically a slideshow that you will create yourself. You're going to create it, put it in, it's basically a movie clip. And then you're going to have different websites or images or whatever you want it to be of something. And then the idea is then when I click on back to home page, you go back to the home page, it unloads it. You would think that the way it's set up that you would have it set going to different frames for it to load, but that's not the way it's set up. If you look at the main timeline here, let me do this real quick. So if you look at the main timeline, you'll notice that there's only actually 2 frames. So the first frame is what you've already done. Then obviously you're going to make this into a button, or this into a button, whichever one's going to be a button. They're both buttons, I think, actually. And then those are the buttons you're going to use to make it go to frame 2, right? When you get to frame 2, you'll notice that there's nothing on here. That slideshow is not there at all. Through ActionScript, you're going to have it so that it loads it. So you'll see the ActionScript on here that loads. This is the ActionScript that loads that movie clip. So that means when the frame hits that, or frame 2, which is, notice it says actions, the layer actions, frame 2, then it loads the movie clip, which is the movie clip is right here in the library. Let's look for it. Here's the slideshow. So when I double click on the slideshow, and I go to the timeline, again, you're going to just basically set up something like this. Yeah. Let me zoom out here. So notice again, you have your different type of, you just have a few objects that are playing and then they're loading through, right? So very simple in terms of setting up the slideshow. Different layers, different images, that's it. But normally, what you would normally do, notice again I'm in the slideshow and it's the timeline of the slideshow and it's a movie clip. But going back to scene 1, normally maybe you would have it there already set up. The idea here is that you're doing it this way, having it load through ActionScript so that it doesn't reside in the main timeline until it's called up. So then this way the movie could be loading behind the scene or the game or whatever it may be. If it starts to load until you call up that object, then it'll load on there. And you call up that object in frame 1 by clicking on the samples button, right? And again, the interesting thing about all this too is you'll notice that we're using 3.0 now. We're going to be using ActionScript 3.0. So, and I think most of you guys, when you created it, already had set it up so that it was ActionScript 3.0 when you created a new file. If you didn't, all you have to do is just click somewhere on the stage, go to Properties, and then where it says Script, change that to 3.0. If you're using Creative Cloud, that's the only option you have. So Flash Creative Cloud, it's only going to be in 3.0. If you're using Flash CS6, then you'll have the options under Script to change it to 2.0 or 3.0. So you're going to have to make sure that if you did do it in 2.0, that you change it to 3.0. Okay? And the key thing about, in terms of ActionScript here, or 3.0 ActionScript, is going to be this. For instance, all the scripting is going to be on the timeline. You don't do it. You don't select an object and then put the script on there like with the buttons, like we were doing the buttons. In 2.0, you would select the object and then you would put, write the script for it. In 3.0, all the scripting goes in the timeline. And so when you want to refer to a button, that button needs to have an instance name. That's where a lot of you guys have a lot of these mistakes, is you forget to put an instance name on the button. So notice right here where it says sample BTN. This line right here on line 3, this refers to the button itself. So when you want to refer to an object, you have to give it an instance name. So this object, I would assume this is the one. Yep. Notice this, when I select it in the properties, this is where the instance name goes, right here, sample BTN. So this name right here needs to match, when you're calling it up, needs to match right here. Then after this, you're going to use an event listener that's listening for an event. And then you're going to tell it what type of event that you want it to be. So it's going to be a mouse event, specifically when you click on it. When you left mouse click on it, then you call up your function. What is it that you want it to do? So you name your function. This could be whatever name you want it to be. He named it click, underscore click. And notice right here, underscore click matches this name right here, matches this same name right here. Because this is the function that you're calling up. And here on line 5 is where you're defining the function. So that's why it starts off with function. Then underscore click, the type of event. You're going to probably use void because you're not having it to throw back a number or anything like that. Then right here where it says go to and stop is the type of action you want it to do. That should be familiar to you guys. The go to and stop is very familiar in terms of we've used that before in 2.0. Okay. So then you'll notice that on frame 2, so then it sends it when I click on this button right here, it goes to frame 2. Then you have your setup on frame 2. Again, you have your slideshow button, which in this case is named slideshow BTN. And you'll notice the actions for it right here. Slideshow, BTM, the event listener, the type of event, display, slideshow, SS, slideshow. Again, you defining the function right here. And then if you'll notice, this time it's not a go-to, but it's a type of a method, AddChild. What that does, it takes the slideshow and adds it to wherever you tell it the X position is and the Y position is, right here. You see? Then you have your home button, which is pretty much the same. You have the home button, you named it home button, go to. Now this student used remove child and then told it, to remove the slideshow. You're going to probably be using, in the book, talks about using visibility, making that slideshow, once it's loaded, making it invisible. So you will change the visibility. There's a property in the book, it talks about visibility instead of remove child. You can use that if you know what you're doing. But you can use remove child or visible, and then you make that visibility of that particular object to false. And you'll see it's on the book. So you would have the name. You start off with the name of the slideshow, because you got to give it an instance name, and then dot visibility equals false. And again, all that's in the book. So that means when I click on home, it sends it back. It does two things. It sends it back to frame 1, and in this case removes it or makes it visibility to false, so you can't see it when you click on it. When you click on home, and then it goes back to frame 1, and you're back to the home page. So in the action script, once you get it, once you do it right, it works easily. You'll see it's easy. So again, some of the problems is forgetting to give the objects you're referring to an instance name. Other problems that you may come up with may show up, for instance, is that you forget, like say you named this wrong. You forget to put the S on here. Notice when I test it out, I get an error. And if it flashes like this, it's because you have an error of some sort. Also, you'll see this may be set up right here. you may have your panel set up right here, and notice right here it tells you where the error is. So it says right here, layer, actions layer, frame 2, line 5. And it says access to undefined property display S. So it doesn't know what that is because I misspelled it, or basically it hasn't been properly defined. So to get to that error, whatever it may be, all you have to do is double click on that error and notice it goes to the line itself. Or you can just go frame actions, the actions layer, frame 2, and look for that error. And then you have to kind of figure out what the error is. And then you can look for it and go, oh yeah, I forgot to put the other S as I have it defined here. So capital S. Now when I test it out again, what should happen? Everything should work. This error should be cleared out. Notice it gets cleared. It works fine. It loads the slideshow. Click back home, removes the child or makes it invisible. All right, so that's the idea in terms of working with this. I'm going to give you extra credit, 10 points extra credit, if you can make the slideshow interactive, meaning that I should be able to click forward. I should have a previous or next type button. You saw how the slideshow just automatically plays out, right? But what if I'm in there as a user and I want to go back and look at one of the images, right? So that's what I'm going to give you extra credit for. So it'll look something like this. So this student did extra credit on it. So when I click on samples and I load the slideshow, notice the buttons right here, the previous and back button. So if I wanted to go back, I can go back and look at look at what I wanted. What made it really, really good too is I could use a pause button. And maybe I hit a pause. Basically, you're pausing it right there, and then you're still using the previous and back button. So I can go back and forward. Now, and I didn't give her full credit for the extra credit because she didn't use the pause button. But that would have been, what she needed somewhere, maybe like right here or whatever. I hit the pause or stop or whatever, and it stops it right there. And again, I can go forward or back if I wanted to. So keep in mind that this slideshow is all being done in a movie clip. So that means all your actions, everything will be within that movie clip. Again, a movie clip is a movie within itself, right? So it has its own timeline, and you can incorporate all those type of things within that movie clip. Okay? Any questions? Everybody understands that? All right. So I'll post that up. I'll add that to the chapter 9 in terms of the extra credit.